Hello everyone, and welcome back to the next wine making video from bsntech.com. It has now been 7 days later since we first made the wine, and the airlock on the primary fermenter is now bubbling about once every 4 seconds, so it has slowed down a little bit. At this time, we're going to go ahead and take all of the wine in the whole primary fermenter here, and we're going to put it down into the secondary fermenter, which is a plastic 5-gallon better bottle, as you can see there. Now it will sit in here for probably another month, and then it will be put into another bottle that we have. Now the point of putting it into the secondary fermenter is to keep the air from getting in. When we put it in the primary fermenter, there was a lot of air and airspace at the top. As you can see here, the 5-gallon mark is right here, so there's all this space for air. And when you put it down into the secondary fermenter, there's much less space. Now the secondary reason for putting it into the secondary fermenter is so that you can get a lot of the lees. Lees basically is a lot of dead material and a lot of the other additives, such as the bentonite that sits on the bottom, and it's a sediment, and you really want to get that sediment out of your wine before you put it in your bottles. So at this point, we have everything sanitized. We're going to go over some of the equipment that we need, and we'll start moving the wine. Okay, for the next part of the video, we're going to just go ahead and show you what you need in order to put your wine in your secondary fermenter, also called racking up. Now, you do not need to have exactly something this nice, but what this is called an auto siphon. The auto siphon you put down into your fermenter, or your primary fermenter, and then you just pump this. And when you pump this, it causes the wine to automatically start the siphon through the hose here, and then you put this into your better bottle, or your secondary fermenter. Now, when we first started, we just had this piece here, which is a long stem. This is just called a racking cane. Now, you can use just a racking cane, but you would have to actually suck on the end to start the siphon. So that's why I got this, is because it's a little more sanitary. Now the other parts and pieces that we have, we've already introduced to you before. But here we have a rubber stopper and the airlock, and this will just go right on the top of the better bottle. And again, here we have a turkey baster. This is so that we can pull some of the wine up and check for the specific gravity and see where the specific gravity is at this point. And then just a hydrometer and the hydrometer test tube. At this point, we're going to go ahead and show you what the wine looks like fermenting. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and take the top off of the primary fermenter. And you'll get a good glimpse of what the wine looks like so far. Okay, so that's what the wine looks like. You can see some of the sediment around here already. This is other sediment that hasn't made its way to the bottom. Now you probably can't see it in the video, but there are a lot of carbon dioxide bubbles here that are coming to the top. And that is the byproduct of yeast. Yeast turns sugar into carbon dioxide and alcohol. And the alcohol is what we want. Now we're going to go ahead and first test our specific gravity. So let's do that right now. And this will tell us what our alcohol content is already just after 1 week. Alright, so we're already floating. Give it a good spin there and try to get some of the bubbles out as much as we can. And it looks like at this point we are at about 1.0 4. Alright, now before we use the auto siphon, I'm just going to point out that this wine right now is very, very murky. You can't even see through this cylinder. And that's because there's a lot of yeast and other particles that are still floating around in there. When the wine is fully finished, this will be crystal clear and you'll be able to see right through it. Now we're going to go ahead and start the auto siphon. It's just a matter of putting it down there. And make sure your hose, try to put it all the way down to the bottom if possible. And the reason for this is it creates less oxygen getting into the wine. Now we've got it all the way down there at the bottom right now. And then it's just a matter of pumping. So all we do is we take a couple of pumps here, and looky there, it automatically started for us. And it's going to go ahead and fill up the container. Well, we're getting closer to the top now. You can see the Star San sanitizing solution bubbling up and coming right out of the top. That's nice that it's continuing to sanitize while it's filling up. Now, when this gets to about here, we'll go ahead and shut it off. That way, the stopper will be about right here, and there'll be very little space for oxygen. Now, something else I have on the end of this hose is a little clamp here. So when it gets close to the end, I can just push down on this clamp and stop the flow. And it's all done. That's all there is to racking up your wine. And before we sign off real quick, I was going to show you some of that sediment that's at the bottom of this fermenter here. Now, all the wine is mixed in with the sediment, but you can really see how it's sticking there to the container. So that's part of the reason you put into the secondary fermenter with all your wine in there, is to get rid of some of this at the bottom of your container.